Blog Talk Radio.
It's Monday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, on the Blog Talk Radio Network. Once again, it's time for the most intriguing talk radio on the internet today. This is Sasquatch Radio. Breaking news and information from around the world. Interviews with men and women investigating the mystery. The latest high-tech equipment. Cutting-edge research techniques. And amazing discoveries. Real-life people sharing real-life encounters. The director and founder of Sasquatch, Washington, Virginia. Here is your host, Billy Willard. Something is out there in the dark, watching, waiting. It's time to unleash the beast. This is Sasquatch Radio.
All right, welcome everyone to another edition of Sasquatch Watch Radio. Today is January 18th, 2010, and my name is Billy Willard. I'm your host tonight, and let me welcome my co-host, Mr. Mike Killen. How are you doing tonight, Mike?
Hey, Billy. I'm doing just fine. How are you?
Doing much better. We finally have gotten rid of most of our snow here. We've been having some temperatures in the 50-degree range, and some rain has kind of washed a lot of it away. So I'm kind of glad of that, and we're in some mild temperatures now. How about you all?
Yeah, it's definitely been warmer. We've been basically 40 and above for like the last week and a half or so. So that's helped. I mean, we hit close to 50 the other day. It was like 47.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's definitely helping.
Yeah, that helps. Of course, it does a number on those mountains up there because as we all know, as it melts, it messes them roads up pretty bad.
Yeah.
Makes them a mud bath. But that's okay. I welcome the warm weather. My understanding is snowing in Idaho right now, so I feel sorry for them folks.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brian Smith had called me earlier, or talked to me earlier and told me that it's starting to snow there, so looks like they're going to get hit now. But, all right. Well, y'all forgive me if I'm a little slow tonight. I'm pretty tired. I just got back from West Virginia. We had to make a quick trip to West Virginia over the weekend because my wife's grandfather had passed away. He was 98 years old. And we had to go up there for a weekend. I got probably out of 3 days, I think I got 6 hours of sleep because when I go away from home, I don't sleep very well in other beds and things. So forgive me, I'm maybe a little incoherent or something, but y'all just have to work with me. We got a great guest with us tonight. We got Mr. Jason Valenti of Washington. He's with the Sasquatch Research Hominid Research Group. And Jason, welcome to the show.
Thank you, guys. Great to be here.
Well, it's great. It's great to have you. Matter of fact, I've noticed that you've been doing quite a few interviews here lately. I believe you just recently, had an interview, I think, with Rob McConnell on X Zone.
Yeah, sure did. He threw some hooks at me.
I like Rob a lot.
Yeah, he's a guy.
I've known Rob for a few years now, and he's a really great guy and a very pleasant guy to talk with on the radio. And he's kind of went back and forth on the whole subject of Bigfoot, but it's a media frenzy, as you know, with this subject, but. So Jason,
no
tell us a little bit about yourself. This is the first time we've had you on the show here. So if you could just kind of introduce yourself, tell everybody about what you do and what really got you in this.
Okay, yeah, sure. Let's see. Currently I've got a birthday coming up in a week and a half, I guess. 39, 40. And I've been into foot hominoid research since '96, since the moment it happened. And I live in Ferndale, Washington, which is really close to Bellingham. I'm probably about 15 miles north of Bellingham, real close to the Canadian border in Washington State, off the I-5 corridor, and great research area. But I had my sighting actually in the Panhandle of Florida, which is pretty interesting. And I know people out there think that the phenomenon is relegated to the Pacific Northwest, but as you guys know, because you're back east and that's where I'm from, that this phenomenon is in every state in the United States and every province in Canada, and even in South America and all the continents that constitute land masses of the earth. So this really, got a hold of me back in '97. I had my just 15 minutes outside of Tallahassee in Appalachian National Forest at FAM, and ever since that night, I can't stop thinking about it, just like you guys.
Right. No, I know. Once you get that Bigfoot bug, if you've had a sighting or anything like that. See, the funny thing is what got me back into this, because I've had an interest since a child, but what got me back into this was actually two of my kids. Back when I was going to school, there was very few and in between books on the whole subject. And I, read everything I could. Matter of fact, I got disappointed a lot of times because I'd already read everything I could find, and was wanting more info. But it just didn't seem to be very much info now. Nowadays, we've got books, we've got documentaries on TV, we've got all kinds of things on it. And then what really, really got me motivated even more was within the first year of me getting back, getting the interest back and actually getting out into the field. Two of my kids, we were actually on an investigation, and they had a sighting that really just lit a fire under me. Because if you would have been there, you knew they were looking at a creature, and it just blew my mind, and just couldn't get somebody over there fast enough to their location. But that kind of, that on top of all the other, encounter reports that you get from people, thousands of, that's been over the past several years. There's just no way that these people are just, making this stuff up.
Right.
So I think that intrigues our interest, keeps us interested in the whole subject. And my whole thing is, I would love for all the people who have come forward and say, hey, I had a sighting of a creature, and then the masses, pretty much just laughing at them and ridiculing them. It would be nice to actually get this thing documented and say, there, folks, for all the years that you've been made fun of, here it is. Just give them that, that satisfaction of saying, see, I wasn't crazy. I think that really is one of the things that really keeps me going on the whole subject. What keeps you going, Jason? Just out of curiosity, what is it that keeps you motivated?
Well, to be quite honest with you, my approach and what the impetus for me is that I was brought up in a religious context, and the subject of hominoids existing on this earth brings up the question for me about human origins.
Right.
Because I don't know how it can escape anybody's consciousness that if these things do exist, you have to ask yourself the question, is this thing link? And if it is, how is evolution true?
Right.
And there's so many other things in this world, because Bigfoot was just a stepping stone for me to get into other things. And I got a couple different websites out there where I actually get to and support a lot of philosophies that since that moment I've allowed myself to embrace for at least study. And I like to tell people, it's like, I don't know what the truth is.
Right.
I just know that there's a whole more out there that we don't know about. It feels good to admit that I don't know everything, and that what I did believe before I had an encounter may not be true either. And so there's kind of a sweetness and a good feeling about admitting that that we live in a place, we live on a planet. Things could be going on that we have no idea. And
right.
And just when we think we've nailed down, everything changes in the next 5 minutes. And so I've kind of adopted, a very fluid and mutable philosophy, especially around this subject because it hit so close to me. For the reasons that after I had my sighting, within 2 weeks, I was introduced to Sitchin's work. Which, for those people who know, he's the one that proposes that man may have been the result of a hybrid project that involved the hominoids currently on the planet. Way back time, whenever that did happen, which there's lots of concern, argument about when that happens. But because I'm, philosophical and I have a theological background, I studied to be a minister in the Christian religion. That grabbed a hold of me. That's the impetus. That's the thing that keeps me going, because I can't help but to think, when you look at the timeline of human invention, the curve is inflecting so dramatically right now in the last 400 years. Where are we getting this technology from? And I just, big UFOs is equal in excitement and interest. And so, but I don't know what the truth is. I don't know. I don't think anybody can stand up and say, oh, this is the way it is. And I just say, well, isn't this interesting? Look, this might be connected to that. What does that mean? And that's kind of my approach. And so that's really what keeps me going. I mean, I don't think we're going to need to be protected. They've been doing a great job.
Yes, they have.
All of us researchers, when we go out there, if we're going to move up and go try to take one out, that's not going to happen. I mean, that will be like winning the lottery.
It hasn't happened yet. So.
Yeah, I mean, as far as I've heard other researchers say, well, I just want to get out there and I want to make sure they become a protected species. I don't think we have to worry about that.
No,
they can definitely take care of their own. But I think there's deeper mysteries that are afoot as a result of even knowing about this phenomenon. That's what excites me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting that you brought up the subject of religion. See, I too studied the Bible for so many years. I was at one time actually a what's called a ministerial servant. A lot of people know this, some people don't know this, but I was a Jehovah's Witness for years, and studied the Bible constantly. I was a ministerial servant, which just simply meant that I actually got up and taught from the Bible. In front of, the church or Kingdom Hall, whatever you want to call it. But, the Bible, kind of like what you said, I mean, it tells us that man was created, man and woman was created. Here we have another creature that's supposedly walking around on 2 feet. Can we call this a man, or what do we call it? So it brings up a whole issue.
Right.
So, we're told that we're it, and as a matter of fact, there's some other religions I know of that say that people shouldn't be concerned with it because it's the work of the devil, and that kind of thing. But yeah, it's it opens a whole can of worms, really, when it comes to that.
Boy, does it ever! But I think we should be talking about it, and I think we need to get comfortable.
I think so too.
Yeah.
And again, I don't think that means that, this thing couldn't possibly be some type of primate that just happens to be able to walk on 2 feet. I mean, we have scientists that claim that they believe that Gigantopithecus blackie, which was in Asia, they believed it could walk upright.
Right.
And of course, we have Dr. Meldrum and them who think that it was possible that they migrated the land bridge and came over into the Pacific Northwest. But as a whole, again, I think there's a lot of theories out there, and they're all really interesting. Now, one thing I noticed on your website, Jason, right on the front, you've got on there they are hominoids, not hominids. Explain that. What do you mean by that?
I love to clarify that with people. And I know this is an approach of to rewrite is already established by but ever since I saw Lloyd Pye's first presentation in 1997, he was the first person to propose that we cannot call any of what has been labeled the pre-human as hominid, because that is to assert conclusively that they are man and evolved from them. I like to look at it like anything that resembles Bigfoot or Sasquatch before Homo sapiens is hominoid because it is man-like. It has a humanoid form, and that's all it is. And as far as we know, all primates, I mean, this is a clincher for me. We know right now, without a doubt, all primates have 48 chromosomes, all of them.
Right.
Why? Please tell me why we have 46.
Right.
You would think that if gradualism is true, because we're so much more sophisticated in the cerebral cortex, and gradualism has been stated in all science books when we were all kids going, K through 12, we're told gradualism is going from simplicity to ever more complexity. Well, that should mean that the chromosomal count on a human being relative to a primate should be like 60-plus chromosomes. But we have 2 minus our closest relative. That is completely bizarre. And this is what I've been like standing from the rooftop screaming, everybody look at this point right there, self.
Right.
This is an anomaly. And we can't call anything that has been labeled the pre-humans hominins. We just can't. There's no proof that we evolved from them. There just can't be. I mean, there's evidence, but it's not proof. In a court of law, they always bring forth evidence to try to, see if it comes out in the final analysis to be able to convict and, sentence and all that stuff. But it's still just evidence. So I think that they should be called hominoids until it's proven that they are hominids. Right. And Lloyd explained this to me 3 years before it finally clicked in my mind. So I love to bring up that point. I'm so glad you asked me that question because I don't think we can talk about it enough.
Yeah, no, I agree, and that's very interesting information that you brought out, and I really never thought about it, to be honest. But it's interesting that I'm glad you talked about that, because now I need to take a look at that myself.
Yeah, well, I call it the elephant in the room. Everybody's sitting around, and there's an elephant there, but no one's looking at it.
Right.
It's different than all of us who have been in school. And everything from the Australopithecus all the way through the Homos, later to Homo sapiens, for all intents and purposes, those are Bigfoots. Every single one of them.
Yeah.
When you bring that up, when I bring those up in lecture, everybody's like, "Well, you're right. I never thought of it that way." It's like, well, they did exist at one time, so why can't they now?
That's right.
And the other thing too, people just don't realize how massive it is. I mean, we all congregate in the cities, just don't realize how much room there is for them to roam out there.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, there's just we get that all the time. We'll occasionally have someone call in and say, "Yeah, there's no wilderness left in this country." I'm like, well, when's the last time you looked at an aerial photograph of somewhere outside the city?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
There's just so much room out there. I think people assume that we walked every square mile of all the woodland in this country, but I mean, there are just I can't even begin to express how much area has probably never had human foot touch on it.
Yeah. Well, it's been said that 45% of the land mass on the globe, arable land, has never been once foot surveyed. Not once.
That's right.
And that's just people just don't know. I mean, for God's sakes, there's people around who don't even know, who live in cities their whole life. They can live in Manhattan or Chicago, and they have no idea that hamburger or a cheeseburger is Macau. Yeah. Grown adults. I talked to them before. I've met them. And I'm like, you're kidding me. You don't know that? And it's like humans have been so out of touch with nature. They really have. And so to bring up this subject with people, because Bigfoot requires a natural environment. It's exclusively natural. And you're trying to talk to these people who have no reference point. They don't understand. They're not out there what it's like to live in hostile environments. So they can't even get it. They look at you like, well, we're so advanced, we've already got one by now. Not true. You go up there and get them.
Yeah, that's definitely interesting. Mike, I'm going to get a couple of these callers. Did you have questions yet on the chat room?
No, I did not see any questions. I've been looking, and I just posted a thing in there to remind folks to please type all the questions in caps. Makes it much easier to find them. But no, go right ahead, Billy.
All right, I'm going to start with this first one. The first one may be Abe, but we're going to check in with him to make sure. Caller from the Skype, you're on the line.
Yep, it's just me listening in, guys.
All right, Abe. You have any questions yet, or are you holding back?
I'm holding back so far. If I have any, I'll give you a cue.
All right, we'll be watching for you. Thanks, Abe.
You know what to do, Abe. Just put that hand up, and we'll see you.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
All right. Thanks, Abe.
Caller from the 419 area code. You're on the air.
No, you should have known who this was.
Well, now we got Steve on this line listening.
Yep.
Still ain't got that computer fixed yet, Steve?
No, I'm working on it, man. I got to wait for another week or two.
Okay. I need to, well, I got you on the line real quick. I need to talk to you after the show, Steve, if you get a moment. I've got someone that's trying to locate you, so I need to get some info from you.
Uh-oh.
No, don't worry. It's not the IRS or nothing, so.
I ain't worried about them. I'm thinking ex-wife or something.
All right. Thanks for calling in, Steve. I'll mute you out.
All right.
All right. And here we have the famous Mr. Bill Green up in Connecticut. How you doing tonight, Bill?
I'm doing great, Billy, Mike, and Jason.
You got a question for Jason?
Yeah, Jason, has there been anything, any recent sightings or footprints up in Washington State, or any rumors?
There's been some activity, but this was probably one of the least active years that I've ever experienced. Most people know that my good friend John Andrews, who lives out on Camano Island, he calls every couple of months and gives me some updates, and it just seems like activity hasn't been that much. Although the only other thing I have reported that's a little exciting is off of one of the best radio shows I did. I think it was the one before last. Another researcher contacted me, and he told me of a project that he's working on, and told me what he's doing, and he wanted me to keep it confidential, but I can tell you this: he is up to, and his strategy is super, super exciting. I think I might be able to say that by summer, the end of the summer into October, we might possibly have a shot at getting some really good photographic evidence. So,
great.
Oh, wow.
That's pretty exciting.
Did you see that possible film? Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I wish I could give the details,
Jason,
but go ahead.
Did you see that possible film footage of a Bigfoot creature that was taken near Mount St. Helens? It was on YouTube recently.
Did I see it?
Yeah.
No, I haven't that piece of footage.
Okay. Has there been any sightings near Mount St. Helens recently, or?
Well, I'm pretty far away from there, and that's not a good area to go to. I'm closer to Canada, where that's closer to Oregon. And like I said, I mean, it seems like it's been pretty quiet. I've noticed that there's a lot of factions in the Bigfoot community where, like, people who are linked to the BFRO don't talk to people from the other organization that's in the next town over. So there could be a lot of things happening you just don't know about. And I'm one of those guys that have pissed off a lot of people up in this part of the woods because of my beliefs and what I talk about. So a lot of people stay away from me because I'm pretty controversial. I understand that. I'm not conservative. And so I can just do my own thing. And, and I got a couple of really good research partners up here, one of which is in Canada, close to John Green. And so they give me any updates, and it's just been kind of quiet. There's been some activity. I used to really do a lot of research out on the reservation in Whatcom County, and ever since there was this accident with the, I guess it was back in 2005, it's like all activity stopped, and that was just a bizarre incident where I think there was someone that hit one, and then the body was retrieved by by the other, and just haven't been back. Although I did go to a taste on Saturday, and somebody's been out there recently. It seems like the activity is starting up again. So there's nothing except what I just said, but I'm just being honest. I mean, that's what's going. Yeah.
Hey Billy, I see that Virginia is starting to get some activity, not just about Bigfoot, but I see a lot of stuff on the internet on various databases. Are you looking into those reports, or?
Well, which database are you talking about, Bill? I updated my database.
I think it was BFRO. I think it was had some stuff. I don't know, from Virginia or West Virginia, around there.
Okay, I'll have to look into that. Maybe they've updated it and I haven't seen it yet, so I'll have to check into that. But I appreciate you letting me know about it.
Yeah. So nothing's really happening in your area of research.
No, I haven't had anything come in for quite some time, so I'm kind of like Jason. Things seem to be slow. So.
Yeah. How about you, Mike?
Say again, Bill?
Mike, what's new up in upstate New York around Bear Road and all those other areas, and Dax and all that?
I haven't heard anything lately, Bill. Not very recently, anyway. I did hear there was a road crossing sighting probably a couple of months ago now, up by Speculator Lake in upstate New York, over by...
Yeah, Mike, if you go to YouTube, type Bigfoot in New York, and you'll see that road crossing video on YouTube. There's a couple of possible New York film footages on there, that baby footage on there, but there's also a few other ones on there.
All right, I'll check that out, Bill. I'll see. Thanks.
All right.
Yeah. But great show, and keep in touch.
All right. Thanks, Bill.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye-bye. All right, and let me grab this other caller, and then I'll let you get to some of those questions. I believe this is also a Skype caller. You're on the air. Hello, Skype caller. You're live on the air.
Can you hear me, Billy?
Yep, I hear you.
Okay, I'm just listening in. If you put me on hold, if I come up with a question, I'll let y'all know.
Okay, thanks a lot. All right, now I'll let you get to your questions, Mike.
All right. We definitely have a few questions here. First question was from Bipedalist in the chat, and he's asking, does your guest work with John Andrews?
Yeah. Affirmative.
All right. So there you go, Bipedalist. Yes, he does. All right. And then we had another question here. This one was from Craig Woolheater in the chat. He says, is Jason attending the Oregon Sasquatch Symposium in June?
Not sure. It's possible I might be moving to Oregon this summer, so I possibly might have a job opportunity down there. So not really sure if I'm going to be attending anything because of that reason.
That's a good. Oregon's another good area.
Yeah,
a lot of sightings around there. Heck, that whole Pacific Northwest is a good area.
Indeed.
All right, Mike, got any more? Yeah, we got a couple more if you want me to go through them. I see we also got another caller or two on the switchboard, too. I've never seen that before. Do you see that one caller there? I've never seen that in my life.
Yeah, that's the one that I answered just a second ago. That
okay.
That one that starts with the 3 zeros. Yeah, they're all just holding and listening.
Yeah, I've never seen an area code 000. That's weird.
Yeah, Skype will occasionally do that one too.
No, I see the all ones all the time. I never seen 000 area code, but then it's an actual number. It looks like a phone number. The rest of it's weird. Anyway.
Right.
Okay. Next question was from Jim Footicus in the chat, and he says, question, what does he mean he is controversial?
Oh, let's see. When I brought Lloyd Pye up to my conference in 2005, there was a lot of Bigfoot researchers that kind of got ticked at me because, bringing up the whole possibility that Bigfoot may be a missing link in a way that we have never considered. Like most people in the Bigfoot community don't know of a lot of the ufology out there. They don't know the ancient manuscripts from Samaria that talk about when they were redeciphered by Zechariah Sitchin. They talked about this race of beings coming here and using the existing hominid to graft their DNA with it to come up with slave words, meaning us. And so, obviously when you think about that around fundamentalists, they kind of start squirming in their seats and get a little bit uncomfortable. And, we talk about these different reports like Xana. You guys heard about the story of Xana Russian, Kaptar, Alma, that mated with the village and produced offspring. Yeah. That kind of stuff is really controversial. That's my favorite stuff to talk about, but for different reasons, it seems to people really uncomfortable. They kind of just don't want to hear that stuff, and they just want to. That's like a lot of people they just want me to talk about sighting, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm so tired of that. I've done it 100 times, and can we get into what could this mean ultimately? And religious people, that's really uncomfortable because they want to believe that we were created 6,000 years ago, and it's like, well, it may not be true. And so if you want to talk about Bigfoot, it might lead us into some really different theories and possibilities that challenge everything like it did for me. And can't help but that the more and more research into this phenomenon and what it's connected to, directly or indirectly, it keeps me into more and more bizarre possibilities. And that's what makes me controversial, because I'm shutting up talking about it. And and I go on for the record that that's what I believe right now. I believe it's possible that humans are not this. They're just not. I mean, everything about us is so bizarre and doesn't match the flow chart of life, and it certainly doesn't match the chart of hominids. I mean, not in the least. There's so many different things about us. Right. So that's what I mean to say that.
Right. All right. Any more, Mike?
Yep, we got actually 3 more. Well, 2 more, and then one is kind of a comment that goes with it. But next question was from Steiny02, and he says, can he talk about his sighting, the one where he saw a supposed Squatch leap from the side of the road? And I know exactly what he's talking about. Jason, I don't know if you remember, but you actually told this story on another show, a different show that I host with another guy, Bob Coyne, Bigfoot Quest, who were on our show, and you actually told this story. Good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, good story.
Yeah. And I was driving. I was the driver. This was sitting next to me. We were both wide awake. 1986 Toyota pickup truck, extra cab topper on the back with tinted. I can't tell you why they were tinted, but that's the reason why I couldn't see anything beyond the driver or the passenger side window. I'm up on this creature at about 200 yards approximately. When I first saw something down the road, took my foot off the gas, started covering the brake, pushed down the clutch, threw it into neutral, and looked down at my dashboard, saw that my brights were on, so I put them onto the position. As soon as I did that, eyes appeared, and this flurry of hair movement stopped. And then in the next moment, the thing stood up on two legs, and by that time I was probably down to about 100 yards in front of her, and then I started braking hard. I was probably going about 50 miles an hour. 15 miles outside of Tallahassee. I couldn't tell what road it was on. This was 1996, before they really developed some of those roads that head south out of Tallahassee. And I do remember the whole time that we had driven, there was nothing. I don't remember. It was 4 o'clock in the morning. I don't remember too many roads that turned off to the left or to the right. And we never passed a car, never passed us for 40 miles, and there was nobody behind it. And though I can figure, I think the reason I was so lucky, that we were so lucky to see the creature, because I think I may have been traveling in a direction that when facing us, it could have subconsciously been thinking as her head was down that the sun was rising, was close enough to that time in the morning. And I think as soon as I flashed my brights on, I just realized that, oh, that may have been one of those vehicle things. And she lifted her head up, looked at, and I think the headlights just, I think as soon as she tilted her head up, it just, you know how like when you're sound asleep and you throw the light on, you're blinded. And it takes a long time for your eyes to adjust. So, I mean, I was coming at her pretty fast and braking hard. So she just stood up and just braced herself. She just looked like the body just spoke of someone like crap, and then sitting up, hands on her face, extended to brace for the impact. And and what I can tell you is that, judging from being on the road and just kind of how there was like a little swale off to the side of the road, I'm pretty sure she was at least 6'8". I knew she was several inches taller than me because I'm 6'4" with my shoes on, and but it's been as close. She could have been about the same height as Pat, just not as more like a basketball player. Whereas the Patterson subject was more like a lineman for a football team. Very very thick, lots of extra padding on her. Whereas this specimen was much more. In the beginning, I used the term good because that's relative to the Patterson creature. Thinking that it's normal to look that way, and but then maybe just humans. Some humans are leaner built. You got the Polynesians who are much more big boned, thick, and carry weight better than me. But I can tell you that the skin was very white. Which was kind of strange because like a lot of primates seem to have much darker skin. Hair from my perspective, seemed to be blonde. Dennis, after a year later after it happened, he saw light brown. I saw orange eyes. He saw green eyes. And that made sense to me until just in the last couple of years, my girlfriend and I were at a party and we were looking at the same dog, and she was just a foot apart from me. And I don't know if you guys have experienced this, but sometimes in an animal, because of their eyes, I don't know if it's the rods or bones, but you can just change your angle a little bit. It'll go from green to orange. And so that may have been why we had seen something different. But what we both agreed is that it definitely was around that same height, and definitely wide shoulders, human-looking hands. I remember each digit on her thumb and all 4 fingers on her hands. The very bends of them at the tips had like this purplish color, and then that same color was on her nose, like as if she had been eating bear or something. I don't know. And face was actually the head was so tiny relative to the width of the shoulders. That was an extremely bizarre anatomical feature. The head just seemed too small for the body, in my opinion. And that could be because she could have been looking to tilt her head back, bracing for back. It could have been for that reason. Or saw any conical shape to her head. And I refer to it as a her because it seemed like she had an hourglass figure, very, very powerful core. Her hips, like from the top waist down to mid-thigh, it just looked really thick and muscular. But, I mean, I don't think you could have pinched any fat on her. It just just spoke of this tremendous core power, almost kangaroo-ish, just very, very built to be able to, move the ambulate and the body and twist. She seemed like she's built for doing that. And let's see, hips were nearly as wide as the shoulders. Let's see. Very knock-kneed. I mean, I could tell that she was knock-kneed. It looked like her leg bones came from and almost formed a triangle. Like I just noticed. I'm knock-kneed, and I noticed that kind of stuff because I'm just of the way my legs. And so I remember the feature, and I remember that as she was walking backwards, it looked like she was swinging her leg around in the very much same way the Rubens Steinwurf superimposition 3D model Patterson creature. When you look at Sasquatch Legend Meets Science and you see that clip of that 3D animation, you can see where she's rotating the lower part of her leg in her gait. And I believe that I was observing that in reverse. It looked almost exactly like that except in reverse. But I don't remember ever seeing her foot. The grass was a little bit tall, but I was enough of the lower leg down to mid-calf that you could kind of see this weird rotation in her step. and a bit jerky, kind of like it wasn't real natural for me walking backwards that quick, where it was just kind of like jerking back and forth, and it made the hair on her chest back and forth. I never saw breasts, but I remember that it was odd to me that it seemed like the hair on her chest was so long, and it was swaying back and forth out of sync with her. It was just remember that being an odd thing to observe. And as we came up right alongside of her, I'm leaning over the steering wheel, just as glued to her, and I'm coming to a complete stop, and I just held the steering wheel perfectly still so that I could keep my eye on her until I couldn't hear anymore. But I remember, like, almost the top of her hip was at the top of the window, atop of the door jamb. So I knew she was pretty tall.
Right.
And if it would have been rolled down, Dennis could have reached out and grabbed her by the arm. And I remember, as we were coming up to her, I remember the side of her right arm, and I just remember seeing definition. I remember being impressed of, there wasn't size. It wasn't like a bodybuilder kind of build. It was more like a basketball player, somebody like, not even as thick as Shaquille O'Neal, but more like a Michael Jordan look, where you could really see the bicep. You see the striation muscle in the upper forearm where the brachius ties into the elbow and up into the tricep. You could see that because it wasn't furry. It was more like this sparse hair that was matted in certain places and stuck where you could see in between the next matting of hair. And her face, as I got closer, I began to see, you could see her orbital sockets where her eyes were, very big eyes, and just white skin around the eye sockets, and like a Fu Manchu type of beard, where like as the hair came up to the eye, it became very sparse. And the beard on the chin and the jaw was very sparse. It wasn't very thick at all. It was very, very intermittent in its count. And definitely the prognathous, and that's why I've always told people that it was kind of like the look cross between a chin and pit bull. It's one of those things where, like, when you first see it, you're like, what the hell is that? And you're in the filing system in your mind just trying to put image to it that it's familiar. And I didn't ever see ears. I don't remember ever seeing any ears, and there wasn't much forehead either, from what I remember. But I remember the hands were disturbed because I was like, wait a minute, that looks like it has human hands. It's not right. And so as we're to a stop, I'm pulling the emergency brake, and I am, doing what I can to cure the vehicle so that I can get. I was so excited. I was so blown away at missing this that I wanted to go out and get a second look. Dennis, on the other hand, I hadn't known him that long. We had been acquaintances for doing multi-level marketing with a company called Eox that was out at the time. And so we had driven all, 8 hours one way because he thought some friends would be interested in it. So that's why we were on this trip. And he was just recently out of the Gulf War within the year. And I'm pretty sure he had PTSD, post-traumatic stress disorder. And he got to witness, more of it than I did, because once it hit the passenger side window, it was out of sight for me. I didn't see anything else. So I'm just getting out. Well, during that time of trying to get out of the vehicle, he put his hand on the glass and twisted and looked back, and because I had my foot on the brake, it was illuminating the rear area of the vehicle well enough that he could clearly see her from behind, to gain her composure, and he said that she did something like this. Took her fists, swung onto the ground as hard as she could, like somebody doing the stand broad jump in the Olympics, and then threw her fists up towards the sky, and then rotated her body to the left, pivoted, and as she was leaving the ground, her right leg comes up, her left leg comes up last, and she's sitting on the ball of her foot. She just leaves the ground and travels about 3 feet with the center of the arc about 7 feet off the ground. And then he's telling me this like a year later. We didn't talk about this right after it happened. It was silence. He said 3 words to me, or 2 words to me, for the next 4 hours after he saw this. And, but I didn't find this part of it out a year later when I got up to him and I found him in a drawer somewhere. And said that as she was, leaving, and I'm just sitting there with my mouth open and my eyes like silver dollars. I was like, "Holy crap! Are you kidding me?" And I'm just saying, that's amazing. detail he's giving me. I was amazing. And he said that as she was landing, that she landed stride. And I'm just looking like, wow. He goes, can you appreciate what I'm saying to you? And I'm like, yeah. He goes, anybody else would have to use both of their legs to absorb the landing of the body, because we're just not strong. Humans are just not capable of jumping that far and going into a stride like you're running. And he said that he just came and landed into a stride into a field of palmetto bushes, and there was, just these palm trees just everywhere.
Right.
And anybody who hasn't been down to, a sand pine forest with palmetto bushes, you try to run through that as fast as you can. You can't see these fibers that come up about 18 inches. The palm fronds that come out of the top of them, they stay open, and they'll cover, other ones around that. And he said that she ran through those things so gracefully, so fast. And he said by his estimate that she had to have been traveling about 30 miles an hour. And
wow.
He also said he had a radar gun, and he bred Rottweilers, and he used to clock them in the backyard when they were running over his backyard.
Right.
And so he said if somebody had clocked it doing 50, he would have believed it. He wouldn't have disputed that, because he just couldn't believe that something that big could move that fast.
Right.
And I just ran into the night, and so to me, I'm getting out of there, and as soon as my left foot hits the asphalt, stationary, trying to get out of the vehicle, and I feel his hand. He just reaches over and he sticks me right in the middle of the chest, and gives a handful of fabric and jerks me back into the vehicle. I look at him and I'm like, "Come on, let's go see this thing." And he just looked at me and goes, "No, man, just drive." and I'm trying to reason with him, and he just white as a sheet. And he's, "No, man, just drive the car." And I just instantly I pulled my foot back into the car and closed the door and put my seatbelt on, and I went, and that was the whole thing. And we never said, that was the last thing we said to each other for the next 4 hours. There all the way to I think he lived in Oldham at the time where I dropped him off. Yeah. And then it wasn't until a year later. It was funny. It's a really funny story. I haven't really said this part to too many. I think in the last interview, maybe I brought this up. What was so strange is that a year later, my life had completely changed. I wound up that being a really pivotal event in my life where I really let myself to totally give up Christianity. And the person I was married to, it was just a disaster, and that just really, that experience really gave me what I needed to walk away from it and see it unhealthy. And so then I began to reconstruct my life, got a new girlfriend, and then a year later, my new girlfriend, like, wow, I wonder if this experience ever really happened. It's like, like anybody who's ever had a Bigfoot experience, there's where you doubt yourself. If it's ever happened to me, so every year that passes by, it just seems like it's further back in your memory. And sure enough, I must have been broadcasting so strong out into the universe that I was in some store with my girlfriend at the time, and I walked in and I see him. And I had been obsessing about this for about a week or two. And I just beeline for him and grabbed him, and I pulled him outside. And the funny thing is, he had the same experience as me. He left the white cat at the time, got reconnected with another girlfriend. And so the four of us are inside of this. I think it was like an Eckerd Drugs, old Mar in Eden somewhere. I don't even know why we were even there. That's the funny thing. It was so synchronistic that we were even there to see him, seeing him since that night. He tells her everything that I had said except, light hair and green eye. And then he goes into a whole description of watching it from behind and jump, that kind of stuff. And I cannot tell you, just the elation and like, oh my God, it really did happen. And it felt really good to read with him. So it's kind of a funny thing that happened.
I'm sure. Hey, Jason, we're going to see if we can help you out with your phone connection. Do you have a problem hanging up and just try to call back in? Somebody else with Magic Jack said that helps sometimes.
All right.
If you don't mind trying that, and we'll see if that takes some of that away.
Sure. I'll come back.
Okay. All right. Now, I'm sure you've got a bunch of questions there, Mike, too, hanging. I've got Henry hanging on the line, but we'll let Jason hang up and try calling back in.
All right.
All right, try it now, Jason, see if we can hear you a little better.
How's that? Better?
Oh, yeah. So far, sounds good.
Okay, cool.
So far, yeah, I think it's better.
All right. Let me pull Henry in here. Henry, you're on the line.
Good evening, gentlemen.
How are you?
Oh, just fine, just fine. I wanted to make a report. I went out riding today, and mother said that she saw something Friday off in the distance between here and Leland, Mississippi. She said she saw, and she doesn't remember the exact location, but she said she saw what appeared to be a large dark brown object near a wooded area. Now, I'm not saying that it was a squatch, but it's always possible. It's a possibility.
Who was that, Henry?
My mother.
Oh, your mother.
Yeah. And then
how far
today,
away? Did she say how far away it was?
No, she didn't know how far away it was. She couldn't determine the distance or anything like that, but it was at quite a distance from what she said.
Right. Cool. You need to go on out there and check it out for her.
Well, well, I don't even know what area it was in. I have no idea what area it was in.
Right.
She didn't say. She just said between here, but that could be anywhere along this highway going from here to Leland, which is about 23 miles as the crow flies. And then today I was out riding and I saw something what appeared to be a gorilla-like entity behind a thin tree, and that was while we were going south. We were coming back, and whatever it was gone. So there's a possibility I might have seen one.
Right.
Possible.
Right.
I'm not going to be the idiot who comes out and says, "Oh yeah, I saw Squatch." No, it's a possibility.
Right. Everything's
anyway,
possible.
I put both reports on my blog. So they're on my blog now. For those who want to check it out, that's southeastsasquatchassociation.blogspot.com.
All right, cool.
Anyway, I heard Jason making some interesting comments about how the religious entities would seem to be objecting to Pye's research and consequently into what Jason has looked into. Jason, are you familiar with the story where Robert W. Morgan said that he was taken to he was in Washington and a senator or a congressman or something took him and on the mall in Washington D.C. and said, basically, if you were to reveal this, it would completely shake up all the religions in the world. It would just completely, it would be, oh Lord, Jerry.
Yeah.
Henry, I've said that for years. Yeah, I've said that for years. It absolutely would. I mean, and that's the thing. I know that if a specimen brought in and slammed on the table, and there was news cameras from every nation on the planet, there would still be people that would reject the evidence.
Oh yeah.
For religious reasons, and I know that of the human race, which really saddens me.
Yeah.
Because it would be such an amazing shift in humanity. It would cause all of us, in my opinion, to re-examine human origins and make us more unified. Because it would only lead us like, well, who's playing the trick on here?
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Morton has encountered quite a bit of religious resistance for many years, and he's mentioned it on his show when he hosted his radio shows. He's in his book, The Soul Snatchers. John Bindernagel, he is a Christian, and he is interested in Sasquatch, and he believes that it's an ape, of course. And I don't agree with his take on that, but I respect his opinion. I think it's more from the genus. I think it's more of the genus Homo, but not necessarily Homo sapien.
Right.
And that's just my opinion on that.
Yeah, that's the thing. Nobody really knows. But what we can say is that because there's no connection, there's no concrete. Science is always saying and assuming that there is a missing link. Well, what if what if what Sitchin's been saying since 1974 is true? What if the the cuneiform tablets is true? It's just a thing to do research on. Darwinism, I think all competing theories deserve equal attention. Is all I'm trying to say.
Right. I just heard somebody's Michael Jackson Thriller ringtone.
Yeah, that's my ringtone there, Henry.
Uh-huh.
Just put it on vibrate now.
I was very sorry to hear about your wife's grandfather. 98 years old. God bless him.
Yep, 98 years old. He lived a long, good life. He really did.
Yep. Oh, and those who are interested, this Wednesday, Monster Quest, all new episode, 9 Eastern, 8 Central on History. Hillbilly Beast. I understand a fellow named Philip Spencer, who produced a documentary called The Wild Man of Kentucky, will be part of that.
Oh, yeah, I saw that. That should be interesting.
Yeah, I saw that on his Facebook page, and it should be quite interesting. Oh, and by the way, I want to make an announcement. HBM's Crypto Corner is coming back on February 7th, 9 Eastern, 8 Central. Our guest will be Mike Rugg of the Bigfoot Discovery Museum.
Cool deal. Very cool. Well, that'll be good, Henry. I'm glad you're coming back with it. And sure it'll be good just like it was.
Well, anyway, that's all I wanted to say. And thank you, Jason, for answering my questions. And keep up the good work.
Thanks,
all right, Henry. Thanks, Henry.
Later, guys. Y'all have a good one.
Take care, Henry.
All right, Mike, now I'll let you get back to your questions. For anyone who's listening live and may not necessarily be in the chat room to find the phone number, I'll go ahead and announce the phone number if you want to call in and ask Jason any questions. The call-in number is 347-237-5070. I'll repeat that. The number is 347-237-5070. Feel free to call in. And, Mike, I'll let you get back to the questions.
All right. Okay. First thing, it's not really a question, but Regina typed it in all caps, Regina too, in the chat. She wanted me to pass on a website to Jason. She says, Mike, I have a website that Jason might like. Please pass it on to him. Thanks. And the website she typed in is hiddenmeanings.com. www.hiddenmeanings.com. She just wanted to pass that website on to Jason, I guess.
Cool. I'll check that out myself.
All right. Next question we have is from Watch One. Hey, Mike, from the Alabama forums, and he says he's asking Jason if any of his research is done in trying to record the creatures, and has he ever heard speech from them?
I guess I feel like I've got the creature on film. It's just not a good piece of footage, and I've never really wanted it up on my website yet. I'd sent the original piece of footage to Doug Hychek and never heard from him again. and I had gotten a second generation copy made, and then gave it to Odd Williams. It was back in 05 or 04. Yeah, end of 2004. And I were on the phone for a while she was looking at it, and she said it was the strangest thing because she couldn't backlight it and it looked like a blob. But when I was in my car, I had it on the infamous Chief Martin Road on the Lummi Reservation, which every Native American person there will tell you, if you want to see Bigfoot, just go down, travel down the road in the middle of the night. I've interviewed so many, Native Americans that live on that reservation who have on that road, that stretch of road. And I had seen the eyes. I mean, I saw this thing about a mile and a half coming at me in the oncoming lane, and then it crossed over, went down the ditch, and came back up. And I heard it crack through the forest, and I heard that. I thought part of the eye shine on tape, but I was using a Hi8, keyboarder at the time, and it just, and I'm traveling, and I'm having the thing. I'm in my car on 30 miles an hour, putting the footage out through the front of the windshield, so it's not that good. And so I got that piece of footage. And only a couple of I've seen it, and but it's not just. It's not even a fraction of what the Patterson film is. It's just you see this thing that you could just, well, that could be a bear, or it could be anything. I know for me, when I saw it in person, it's a completely different experience because a camera just can't capture what the eye can see.
Right.
And so, the one guy I was telling about earlier that contacted me, that's very promising, and so I feel connected to that, and that might be some good footage and audio readings. And with John Drews, he brings his parabolic pitch, and we try to solicit responses through all the different kinds of things. I mean, I got a real nice drum that I could bring out. I got a didgeridoo. I got a Native American drum that we use, and we do calls, all kinds of things that we look absolutely to be doing. But sometimes like they work. The first time I ever went out with a drum, I had an amazing experience audio-wise that was as impressive as a visual. And so, from time to time, I do try to do kind of research. That's kind of fun. And as you know, for where I live, it's a little bit difficult to get this time of year. The roads are, especially the long ones, can be pretty dangerous when they're iced up and lots of snow. But
hey, Jason.
Go ahead.
Did you? I'm sorry, because I'm trying to read the chat and pay attention to you at the same time. But did I hear you just say that you occasionally use a didgeridoo? Yeah. I thought that's what you said, but I wasn't sure because I'm intently reading the chat, scanning for questions. I thought I heard that in the back of my mind there. It's funny you say that because we have a guy on our research team that's taking his out, and he's doing that as well. And he believes that it might be possible that that instrument might actually simulate like a type of infrasound, and he's thinking it might actually attract a curious creature that might be nearby.
Well, that was my theory, because I remember talking to John Drews and Richard Grover. When you go to my vocalizations at track 6, you can hear the dialogue between both of them, and because they were there when they heard that cheer that sounds like an air raid siren. And the one thing that they always tell people is that it's so different person because the microphones, ferrite microphones, they clip off the frequencies, so you can't hear the full range of what these creatures can do. And they have like this low rumbling to the build-up of their call, and that's why I've always thought that the didgeridoo, because the way a didge sound, or at least the way you can make it sound when you blow it and your lips are vibrating, you can get this kind of, it sounds like a guttural frequency, and I've always thought that is an excellent instrument to use in doing field research and trying to solicit some callbacks or something, or at least provoke a reaction. Yeah, that's exactly what Kevin was thinking. Kevin on our research team, he brought his Didge the last trip, and
at first I was kind of like surprised, and then when he explained it to me like you just did, it makes perfect sense. You know, I said, hey, great idea.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to build, I don't know if you guys know Matt. Oh shoot, I can't remember his last name. He was at my conference, and he was the one that was challenging the tracks, the plaster casts. Last name escapes me for some reason.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about.
Yeah, he's bald.
I can't think of it.
I can't remember his last name. He's down in Seattle. He lives down in Seattle. He actually, I think he gave me a picture of, and I've always wanted to say a radio show, but this just talking about these didgeridoo for some reason made me remember this. He said there's something you can called a bull roar, Bullroar, and it's what the people used to use a couple hundred years ago, where there were little townships, you know, within like a mile or two of you, and I think they could even reach up to 5 miles. But basically, what they did is they built a box, and then they tied a rope from one side of the box to the other on posts, and used it like a corded violin. And so you create a bow of rope, and then you go across it, and the vibrations would like this really deep roar, and it would, because the frequency was so long, you know, because like these lower frequencies have a wavelength to them, they seem to go further. Like somebody in the next town will hear the bull roar being used to signal help. And I've often thought that it would be a great idea to like take those. You guys have probably seen those blue or white 55-gallon drums.
Yeah.
And then take a jigsaw, cut out leave the ring at the top, just use the jigsaw to cut out the top piece, and then, you know, mount a plate on both sides so that you can, because that thing would have a resonant cavity to create, you know, a modern day bull roar. And I think if any used one of those out on, I'm planning on building. I just found a source where I can get them for $20 up here, and I bought two of them for barrels. But yeah, people use them for like, so you can get the white ones are food grade. The ones that blue, sometimes you can get cheaper because they're sometimes they're used for chemical. We have oil refineries we're close to where I live. Right. And, but yeah, I wanted to throw that out there for any of you researchers out there that build a bull roar would be a great way to bring them in, because the sound travels
I might have to try
so
that, Jason.
far.
I've got 55-gallon drums all the time. I'll have to.
Well, make sure you get plastic ones, because they're so much lighter and easy to transport.
Yeah.
I mean, if you have a brack, for God's sakes, you can tie them to the roof, and not necessarily inside, you know, the vehicle.
Right. Very interesting. I'll have to look that up. I wonder if there's some stuff on the internet to show you how to build one, maybe.
Oh, I'm sure there is. Yeah.
I'll have to look it up.
I think once
it's called
I
a bull roar.
It's called a roar. Yeah, as a matter of fact, when I build one, I'll probably put it up on YouTube for everybody else to see.
Okay, cool.
But I just know that would be a great thing to use out on field research.
Yep, I agree. All right, Mike, let me look here real quick. Okay, no, I don't have any callers, so I'll let you get back to your thing.
All right. Yeah, we have a couple more questions. Okay, so Watch One had the last question about the speech and the recording. Then Kite Squatch says wants to know if he said, I guess he must have missed part of what Jason said. He said, did Jason say what the overall skin color was of the Squatch he saw?
It was pale. It was certainly a pale one. As a matter of fact, another side note here. When I first posted the sighting in '98 on a message board on the internet, a scientist who asked to remain anonymous, he contacted me. He works at a university in Florida, and contacted me, and he had a research project going for studying Bigfoots in not the Panhandle of Florida. It was pretty close to, I think, plantation. That's Palatka, Florida. He had a research hut with other scientists, and they had contact with them, and he said that a report would come in, I guess it was 2 months after I reported mine of right exactly in the same area that I told him that there was a guy who had seen exactly, he described exactly the way I did, but it had a young that looked just like it. Interesting side note, pink skin and blondish or brown hair.
Yep. Yeah, that always kind of helps out with that confirmation.
Corroboration, yeah.
We exactly, because we had the same thing happen in one of our areas where, where I was talking to you earlier about two of my children that had a sighting. Actually, it was just last year. I got an email of someone who was reading on the database about that sighting. That left me a message on my email saying that 10 years prior to my kids having their sighting, and just so you know, there was also another lady that had a sighting of a similar creature, I think like a month before. But this lady had told me about a sighting of the exact, almost the same height creature, same color, hair color, in the same area within a mile.
Wow. Yeah.
10 years earlier. I mean, that was like, wow, there's three different sighting dates of a creature of similar color, similar size, similar area, all within a mile of each other. So stuff like that, it makes it even more interesting. Keep going there, Mike.
All right. We have a question here from Andy Drew. And Andy's question says, do you think any Sasquatch could be arthritic to cause foot dragging and uneven strides when walking?
That's a really interesting question, and I think that I can give an intelligent answer to this for this reason. I have been researching the raw food diet, and I have seen enough data to convince me that it's better humans to eat as natural as possible instead of McDonald's and processed foods and stuff like that. And I think a lot of these diseases that we get, like all the different forms of arthritis, come from not getting proper nutrition.
Yep,
and
I agree with you there.
I've talked to enough researchers out there who have reported Bigfoot behavior that seems a little strange. Like one researcher was convinced, and he had told me this, that in Idaho, or I don't know if it was Idaho, Wyoming, Montana, somewhere around there, that they had found a cave where it looked like the Bigfoots had collected things to create splints for their arm. But this mountain was really close to the dump, and there had been some reports of people seeing them foraging through the dump. That I've heard this in a couple of areas too, where Bigfoot gets people's garbage, and it kind of becomes habituated. And I'm convinced with my research that when Foot tastes cooked food, it's no different than getting hooked on drugs. There's something about it that awakens them and causes them to literally risk their life and risk life and limb to get more of it. It's like a drug. And so I'm pretty sure that it's possible that in some areas where they have access to getting into the dumpster dive and all that kind of stuff, that you might have a greater opportunity of getting them on for whatever, just because they might be in a more weakened state. For to answer the question, I don't see why not that wouldn't be true.
All right. Interesting point. All right, Mike, we still don't have any callers, so I'll let you continue.
All right, we got another question here. You're starting to sound a little. Your audio's starting to get a little wacky on your end now, Billy.
Oh, is that right? I figured.
Yeah. You're sounding like Darth Willard.
Well, maybe it's a blog talk thing then. Maybe.
Yeah.
Who knows?
I don't know. But all of a sudden you're starting to sound robotic. Okay. All right. We had a question from Jim Futicus. Jim says, how close has your guest been to one of the Bigfoot creatures?
Well, personally, I think I was probably less than 6 feet in the car, but that was driving by it.
Right. All right.
Okay, and then that was the last one until just now. Andy Drew just popped one in there a few seconds ago. And his question is, do you think it would help to increase your chances of having a sighting encounter while on expeditions to have nothing on but your birthday suit? in warm weather, of course, or cold if you prefer.
Well, I mean, quite honestly, I don't see why not. I often thought that I'm pretty sure that humans have a certain smell to them from eating cooked food. I think you guys remember that instance where that guy, Tim, I think his name was Timothy Good, where when he was around those grizzlies, it seemed like they didn't start attacking him until he had been on, I think he was just eating enough of a diet that was clean, that rot smell finally left his body, so that he smelled good to their pet, good enough for eating. And I think it's possible that, like, when humans are out, we have this smell that is so awful to animals because of a cleaner body, because all they eat is natural foods and chlorophyll, and I just have the sense that they probably can really pick up on us really easily. But if you could, you could go through like a detox and detox chemical smells out of your body, and then go out there in your birthday suit, I think you might be able to be not as detectable, still be detectable, but just not as easily. I mean, that's a really complex question too.
Yeah, even Slam 630 had mentioned, there's so many things we have working against us. We probably unthinkingly, we're putting on deodorant.
Right.
Our laundry detergent. He made that point too. That's very true. All of us, probably use it. I don't know about everybody else, but my wife likes Gain. She likes Gain because it leaves the clothes smelling nice and, it's got a nice smell. Well, that probably works to our disadvantage.
Exactly.
Things know that there's not a smell like that floating around in the woods. So yeah, I mean, we have everything working against us really. When we go out there expecting to have a sighting, but this thing can probably smell us pretty good. I mean, we've got all this stuff on us. So I guess we can always roll around and Steve said we can roll around in some poop or some dead fish. No, I think I'll pass there. I'd like to have a sighting, but I don't know about that. All right, so am I sounding that bad, Mike? It sounds like everybody says that I'm almost undecipherable.
Yeah, it's gotten real bad. I mean, I can kind of make you out, but yeah, it started out just like a touch, it was like a kind of a, like a weird sounding echo, and now it's just gotten much worse. Yeah, it's.
Okay, then I'll let you continue. Was there any other questions in the chat?
That last one from Andy Drew. I didn't see any from there, but I gotta say, I'd like to ask Andy Drew a question. I mean, I don't know where he came up with the idea of squatching en natural, but I gotta say, Andy, would you really want to be running around out in the woods in the brush, not wearing any clothes? I mean, personally, I don't. I don't see that, being a good thing. Branches and bushes and tree branches and whatever. I don't think that probably would not end well anyway.
Yeah, it wouldn't go over well.
Yeah.
I'm gonna call in on my cell phone, so I'll be right back, Mike.
All right, Billy. Yeah, Andy. Andy Drew in the chat says Billy sounds like a Cylon.
I'll sound better here in a minute.
Yeah. All right. So hopefully Billy can call back in and get a better line. Boy, we're having some troubles tonight. Boy, I tell you, with the audio.
Yeah.
Just.
Am I sounding okay?
Yeah, you're pretty good. Every now and then, it's a little bit, where you break up, but it's definitely better, since you called back in the second time. No question, okay. It's definitely better.
Okay, good.
It's just every now and then. It was definitely worse the first time. Billy was fine. I don't know. All of a sudden, just up until last maybe not even 10 minutes or so, he just suddenly, I don't know. He got to just. You hear it too, right? It's kind of like a weird,
right? Oh yeah, it's
robotic echo or something. I don't know how to describe it.
It
sounds like an android or something. Yeah. Right. Robo Billy, Robo Willard.
Weird. How about that? Is that any better?
Hey, Billy. Yeah, I think that's better.
Okay, I'm on my cell phone, so maybe that's working better tonight.
Yeah.
Okay. So we didn't have any other questions, correct?
Not since Andy Drew's question, no.
Okay. All right. I think I had another question that I wanted to ask Jason. Jason, I looked at your website. I like your website, by the way.
Thank you.
You got a lot of interesting information on there. What was it I was looking at? I was looking at something earlier. Do you do a lot of research with Lloyd Pye?
Well, it's not that I do with him. It's he lives in ironically he lives in Moss City Beach, which isn't that far from where I had my sighting, but he's only lived there for less than 5 or 6 years. So it's an incidental fact that he even lives there. But what happened to me was that 2 weeks after I had my sighting, or when I talked to one of my dad's really, really good friends, who my dad had told me, talk to Tom because he's a little weird. He talks about Bigfoot aliens. Well, I go talk to after I have my sighting. I mean, I went to church and I told everybody, what had happened. He just said, "Oh, Brother Jason, let's lay hands on you and cast out the demons." And I'm just like, "What are you talking about?" Saw an animal. They absolutely just completely, they couldn't hear anything I was telling them. Yeah. So frustrated, and it's all I could talk about. I could think about it. It emotionally impacted me so deeply at the core of my being. I had to get to the bottom of this. What the hell did I just? And so, I finally went over and talked to my dad's friend 2 weeks later, and he was really reserved because my dad had conversations with him. And don't talk to my boys. You're going to mess their heads and stuff. But over there, and we had a talk for about a good 8 hours. And Tom had the privilege of traveling with Zachariah Sitchin and Lloyd Pye to Machu Picchu, South America, to go see the megalithic structure, at Machu Picchu. And so Tom's just wonderful. I mean, we sat there and for hours he just brought me up to speed. Handed me all of his books, the Earth Chronicles by Zachariah Sitchin. I devoured that. In between 96 and 97, I read about 300 books. I couldn't get off. I'm a scholar anyway. I mean, that's where I came from. I just had to get into this and figure out what is this all about. And so that's how the Sitchins work, and that's why I get into astronauts and, that we could possibly, that Bigfoot's really the missing link, but not in a way I ever thought it was. That its DNA was used to create us. It's a scary proposition, and people squirm.
Yeah, very true. Well, let's see. We are down to 5 more minutes. So, folks, if you're wanting to ask that last-minute question, now is your chance. Phone number is 347-237-5070. And Mike, did I see another question, or am I seeing things?
You probably see what Andy Drew just typed. No, it's not. It's in all caps. Yeah, it's not a question. He just is thanking me for asking the question.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
And, you know what? Abe's got his hand up, so
all right.
Let's go to Abe. You're on the line.
Thanks, guys, for taking my call. Jason, through your research, what have you found that works for you, I guess, in bringing these creatures in closer? Is it like call blasting, or do you wood knocks, or do you use your own vocalizations like whoops or things of that nature? What have you found that works that brings these creatures in a little closer than what they usually do come close in?
Well, I'd have to say the largest component being able to have an experience with them, which probably constitute about 90%, is luck. And I say that with the utmost humility, because I've so many times when I'm out there like a complete buffoon, but I'm so driven to do it, and all you can really go on is hopefully get a report from somebody that's having some action in the area and able to go to it. And yeah, call blasting's great. I don't know that I can even tell anything that is a fire way of bringing them in. Sometimes you can do something that seems to at one time attract them, and then the next time I think that they figure it out. It's like, that's just those humans. So I don't know. I think they're a lot more intelligent than I give them credit for, and I think they can figure out something that what we're trying to do is trying to attract them. And so, no, like I that's why I'm going to different areas. It's like whenever I go out with John Andrews, we try to hit different areas and kind of make a circle over a year's time. And you just do what you can. And like I mentioned before, I've always wanted to build a bull roar and try that. And then the didgeridoo, the rock knocks, taking a baseball bat against some deadfall, screaming, bringing children and women, and letting them do the hoops and hollers with their voices seems to be an attractant. There's just all different kinds of things that, and we're really still in the infancy stages of doing this, really. Yeah. And I understand that. I mean, there's probably a lot more sophisticated things that could be doing that would work way better, but I'm not pretending like I know what they are, because I don't.
Right.
I just follow what other people have been doing and mimic that and improve upon that. So. Yeah.
Okay. Well, good deal. Thanks you for answering my question, and thank you, Billy and Mike, for taking my call.
All right.
All right.
Thanks for calling.
Thank you.
Take care, Abe.
All right. And did you have some more questions there, Mike? I think we're down to about 2 minutes. So.
Yeah, we did. We had one more question there, so I know we're short on time. But this question was specifically about the bull roarer that the guest was speaking about, Jason was talking about. This is from Slam630 in chat. He says, you were describing the bull roarer. Aren't they twirled over your head? And he says, you mentioned using a bow.
He said the 12 over the head. I mean,
twirled over your head. I think what he's talking about. If you remember, remember years back that movie with Crocodile Dundee. He takes that thing and he spins it over his head. That's kind of what he's talking about.
I don't know what that is called, but that is obviously Aboriginal way of communicating, and it's similar. You're using wind, over kind of like an aerial shaped piece of. I guess kind of like a boomerang that's attached to a line, but it's different. A bull roar. Just imagine like a one-string cello that has a whole cavity, and you're just running that string over it like you're playing a violin or a cello, and you just hit that magic motion, picture, and speed, and it produces this really, really deep, low reverberation that you can like feel in your chest. And it just travels very, very far, long distances. Yeah, if you Google bull roar, that you'll probably come up with, or Wikipedia or some online encyclopedia will show you a picture of it. But it's not the same thing as that Australian.
All right, folks, we're down to about 30 seconds. So first of all, before we go off live, I would just like to say thank you for all the folks listening in tonight. We appreciate it. And, of course, join us next Monday night. We'll have another intriguing guest on the show. So join us at 9 p.m. Eastern, 6 p.m. Pacific time, of course. And we'll see all of you all next week. Jason, thank you so much for being on the show. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. Thank you for having me, Bill and Mike.
Yeah, I think you had a lot of great information. I'm very interested in the bull roar thing. So I'm really going to be checking that out and seeing if I can get some more info on that. I think it's a really interesting thought. So thank you for coming on the show, Jason. We really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you, guys.
You have a good evening.
You too.
Mike, thank you for being a great co-host as always.
Sure thing, Billy. And, Jason, thanks for being on the show, and I guess we'll see everybody next Monday night.
All right. Thanks, Jason. Thanks, Mike.
Right.
And everyone have a great evening.
Good night, guys.
All right. Good night, guys.
Bye.
A legend passed down through the generations. A myth to some, reality to others. Thousands claim to have encountered this creature from all around the world. Footprints discovered, unidentifiable hairs collected, unusual sounds recorded. Something is out there. Sasquatch Watch Radio. Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, on the Blog Talk Radio Network, interviewing the men and women researching this phenomenon, the latest news and information, research techniques, and cutting-edge technology. True terrifying encounters, as told by those who have experienced them. Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, on the Blog Talk Radio Network. Your host, Billy Willard of Sasquatch Watch of Virginia, brings you the most riveting discussions on the internet today. blogtalkradio.com/Sasquatch Watch Radio. Monday nights, 9 p.m. Eastern, Sasquatch Watch Radio. The truth is out there. Welcome to Sasquatch Watch Radio.
Why?
Why? If you have T-Mobile 5G home internet, you might be hearing this
Why?
a lot.
Why?
Every time your internet slows down during the busiest hours.
Why?
Why? Because your network gives priority to cell phone users.
Why?
Good question. Why not switch to Cox Internet with 2 times faster download speeds than T-Mobile 5G home internet during peak hours?
Okay.
Stop the whys and visit cox.com/5G home for details. T-Mobile prioritizes certain T-Mobile phone users over home internet users during times of congestion.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.